of information. I think it might be a best of 3. It says best of 3.
Oh, look at that.
Low bracket round 8. Oh.
Look at that.
Oh, we're in. Oh, we're in. Lidakor. I see it. I see it moving. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 1 in your first set in the second weekend, or technically the fourth weekend. There's a lot of weekends of Golden League. It is LucifroN versus DeMusliM, spawning in on the west side of the map in the color blue, playing as the French. It is going to be LucifroN.
And
Lidakor,
on
who
the
do we have on that
side.
right-hand side?
Oh, yeah. You are right in for a crazy matchup. DeMusliM is going to be using the Rus on the right side. So Rus versus French action over here. And the first thing that, of course, we're always looking at in this matchup is those boar spots. And look at how juicy those are, potentially for both players.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty big. Both boars spawning in the middle of the map. So remember, when it comes to Dry Arabia, sometimes you don't always get the most regular boar spawns. Boars are typically going to be spawning in the middle of the map, but at the same time, they can spawn towards the edges of the map. But in this scenario, it seems that boars have spawned very close in between the players, and it's barely a screen away for these guys. So I suspect it's going to be a large part of where they look to battle it out.
Exactly, because as we discussed multiple times before with the Rus boar strategy, that boar is not just your primary source of food, it's also staging ground for future assaults. So when you have that forward base in the middle of the map, it allows you to intercept incoming enemy forces or just set yourself up with a nice forward base out there. But this is also applicable to the French, because the French can also go for that forward boar, and we have seen that being done more and more recently.
It's a really good point. And one thing that's important to note is if you are taking the boar and you're taking control of that location, you're denying that food from your enemy. That's 2,000 food. That's a lot of food. And as a result, it means that, once you take that initial boar, then you begin to fall back. You go back onto your hunt. You go back onto your berries. But it's going to sustain your food economy for the first 4 to 5 minutes of the game. It's going to help you out a huge amount. But now players aging up. We see the Golden Gate coming down for DeMusliM in his base. No real surprises there. The question is going to be which build order does he opt for and what strategy does he look to go for? Is he going to be thinking a little bit more feudal? Is he going to be going up to the castle?
Yeah, as you pointed out, both of those are possibilities out there. The French like to dictate tempos, so the French are likely going to commit quite a lot of effort into feudal age combat, so he might need to just go for feudal age aggression, and there it is, 8 villagers moving out there. This will be spotted immediately by LucifroN. 2 scouts coming in, though, from both players. This means that DeMusliM should have no issue dropping that tower close to the boar. One thing that LucifroN can do here, though, is aggro the boar, so he's going to start that battle instead of his opponent, which could make it a little more difficult for DeMusliM to kill that boar effectively, and that's the reason why DeMusliM aggroed the boar with his scout in the first place.
Oh no, now the scout. Oh, you got to be so careful in this scenario. You can see that the villagers are looking to try and come in, be protected a little bit by the scout. The scout has moved in, but I think the villagers, the scout was indeed taking the damage. You can see his eyes skating away from the fight now. 3 scouts against 2 have got to leave the villagers here. And it looks like they're going to be able to make it out okay. A single scout makes it away. He's going to be looking to heal up, and they're going to... Oh, that's an unfortunate loss right there for DeMusliM losing that scout. And unfortunately... going to be losing 1 extra scout as the Rus. I mean, it's not a big deal as the Rus, but at the same time, it's scouting information. It's important. It's one of those small victories.
And look at that, Stone coming in here for LucifroN. Could he be thinking about a second town center here? He's committing 4 villagers out there, so if he wants a second TC, he needs at least 1 or 2 more. First Knight popping out, and you could see that DeMusliM was dropping that hunting cabin already. One thing I'm concerned about is if he can fit all the villagers around that boar, but it seems to be the case. The tower is very close to the boar, and sometimes if you're not cautious, you can block a certain side of the boar, and it makes it very difficult for the villagers to access it from all directions. First Knight out, and I wonder what kind of army we're going to see here for DeMusliM, because so far, not a single production building out for him.
Yeah, this is where I'm thinking, this is where it sort of comes in, because I've seen DeMusliM do it before. He will go... Excuse me. He will go for a very fast castle as the Rus while taking the boar. So that's always going to be an option for him. And I think he can do that with quite a lot of, inability for his enemy to actually respond to that. The double wooden fortress is really going to help him out in this scenario. But another thing to note is that we could see DeMusliM. Well, DeMuslim's got to wake up right now. You can see the knight did come in, did a little hit, and then he walked out. He's like, I don't know. I could kill this villager, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to leave it for now. It's better safe than sorry. But now we see at the same time, LucifroN going to be taking the other boar towards the north. Actually, nope. He's going to be changing his mind. Just going to be heading back, taking a mill instead.
He could have taken that boar out there, but it looks like he wants to play it safe. And speaking of safe, DeMusliM got arrow slits for both of his towers, so he's playing a very defensive game over here. He has bought 150 stone with the Golden Gate, and he's got arrow slits on both of those towers. So both of his lumberjacks and the hunters are going to be safe. But of course, LucifroN is just dancing around with those knights right now, trying to just force some idle time out there. And you see, LucifroN is mining stone for what is going to be a second town center out there. Oh, where is that second town center going to be placed at? He's moving all the way to the north. Could it be on the second hunt, maybe?
I think that makes a lot of sense in this scenario because you've got an enemy who's taking the boar. They're getting in a very nice food source, but at the same time, they're probably not going to be applying too much pressure. He knows the way that DeMusliM plays this. He knows that DeMusliM typically, when he's playing the Rus, he's a little bit more defensive. He likes to play it into a castle age, more orientated focus. And as a result, he says, well, that's okay. I need to make sure I've got a guaranteed source of income. I need to make sure you don't steal away my deer, potentially. And as a result, I'll stick my town center up here in the corner. And it makes a lot of sense for him to do this. But yeah, one of the options for LucifroN was to look to put that outpost on the actual boar, try and deny that boar out. But you mentioned that the boar is so tucked in, so nice and close into that wooden fortress. There's no real way that it's going to be challenged. But we see that a mining camp gets cancelled out on the stone mine here. What was this all about, Lidakor?
Interesting. Maybe he wanted to get some more stone for himself. Maybe he was thinking about a town center. Because I think he spotted the second town center out there, or at least he spotted the stone mine that was depleted. So I think DeMusliM knows that there's a second town center for his opponent. Either he saw the town center itself or the depleted stone mine. But maybe he was thinking, okay, I need to mine some extra stone because if I buy 150, I will be at 200. So maybe I'm dropping a second town center. But then he looks at his resources and says, hey, I could go into Castle Age, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's dropping that abbey with what seems to be 8 or 9 villagers, and it looks like we're going to see a horse archer play here potentially.
Yeah, it could be the way that he goes in this scenario, but keep in mind, he is a big fan of crossbows. I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen DeMusliM do it before, 100% crossbows. Before the Mangonel nerf, I saw him play a game, 100% crossbows. I'm not even kidding you. It was an Abbasid Dynasty mirror. He made like 60 crossbows, nothing else. See, I mean, he made springalds and keeps and springled emplacements on the keeps and the outposts and all that good stuff. But other than that, there were just a lot of crossbows. But I think the thing for me is DeMusliM looked to put down that stone mine, and LucifroN scouts that. Now, DeMusliM didn't see that LucifroN was scouting him, so I don't think there was any mind game to it. I think that DeMusliM was just like, well, I need to go for a second town center because he's on a second town center, because otherwise I'm going to fall behind. And then he's thinking, okay, I can just trade the resources, but then at the same time he's like, well, I can't really trade it because I don't have the tickets for it, I don't have the gold to support it. And so I think he just did the math quickly in his head. It's like, okay, I can get up to castle, I can make sure I get my warrior monks out, I can look to grab all of the relics, and eventually, once I've got the relics going, I'll take the sacred sites, and then I'll get the second town center after that. So, sure, I'm going to be behind, but maybe I can even add in a third town center. I suspect that's the way that he was thinking about it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you at this point. Also worth noting is the fact that he's playing against French, so even with the second town center for himself, he will be behind in villagers. So it makes a lot of sense for him to just accept the fact that he's going to be behind in terms of villager count, and instead focus on picking up the relics, as you pointed out, and later on go for the second town center. And the horse archers are now out. This is the territory where he's starting to deplete that boar, and the timing on those horse archers will be perfect because the second boar is still accessible, and I would think LucifroN is going to try and deny that, but I'm not sure if that's going to work out for him. The horse archers should give enough space here for the DeMusliM to get that second boar.
Yeah, I think it should be absolutely fine for him. He's going to be able to push up to that. And the question is whether he's going to want to take it, though. But we can now see the villagers moving back towards the base. Relics getting picked up right now as well for that warrior monk. And now the push begins to come. LucifroN looking to get up to that third age. So the timing here is going to be very, very close for him. And the question is going to be whether he's going to be able to defend this initial rush that comes out. And he's got to be careful. You can see that the horse archers... No. Oh, my lord. There was a lot of damage coming out from that ball right there. You're going to be so careful of that guy.
He lost the scout. That's a disaster because obviously for those horse archers it helps a lot that you have a scout accompanying them, helps you seek out targets. He's at 455 bounty though, so I mean it was worth it to take down that boar, but it would have been nice if he could avoid that scout being lost. Villager count looking pretty healthy right now for LucifroN though. He's on the way to Castle Age as well. In fact, he just reached Castle. Defensive towers also out to protect his gold mine from those horse archers. So far, the DeMusliM wasn't really able to cut into that villager deficit, and that villager deficit is quite substantial right now. You see, it's 38 versus 52 already.
Yeah, it begins to build. Keep in mind, in addition to LucifroN having that second town center, he is playing as the French, which do build their villages faster. At the moment in the castle age, DeMusliM's village is going to be taking 20 seconds to build from the town center, whereas LucifroN's only 16, but now a fight begins to break out in the middle of the map. We can see the knights trying to fend off all these horse archers. Beautiful micro coming out from DeMusliM as he continues to work back towards his sacred site. The Woolalol comes off just as a defensive mechanism. Not going to be able to take any units today, it seems, as the wooden fortress also there to help out a hand. And now that mass is starting to really begin of horse archers, and it seems like there's going to be no crossbows coming out today, Lidakor. Indeed, you were correct on the mass of horse archers.
Yeah, the mobility component is going to be key over here for DeMusliM, and you see he's using it really well. He's diagnosing that his opponent cannot really fight this one right now, so he's pursuing those archers, picking them off, lowering their numbers, and behind this one, he was able to secure that second board for himself, get a tower up over there, potentially with a spring golden placement coming in soon, and he's going to get that sacred site, and I'm just now realizing how juicy of that central position is. Not only are you getting yourself a board, you get a perfect hunting cabin with like 30, potentially even 40 gold per minute, and you also have a sacred site in that very same screen. That is a beautiful position for DeMusliM to focus on.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Often players will be looking to find ways to secure or spots like that on the map, whether it's the sacred site and a relic, whether it's a sacred site and a big gold mine, something like that. So great little find there with the boar. Just going to be investing a wooden fortress, not feeling the need to drop a keep on it, obviously, at this early stage of the game. But you can see the way he's posturing around the base. He's looking for an opening to get into this base. Military's still looking quite fair, but keep in mind, behind this, DeMusliM is up to 5 relics now. He's got 3 in the bag, 2 of them in his possession. He has captured every single relic and now looks to take every sacred site as well. So slowly, I suspect we're going to be seeing him add town centers behind this. He's very cognizant of the fact that he will be running a villager deficit compared to his opponent. LucifroN already ahead by more than 20 villagers. So it's important that he keeps up with the Kardashians and makes sure that he's got that extra town center.
Indeed, that's exactly the case over here. LucifroN also will have a different problem. As you see, those hunts are being depleted right now. Sacred Site countdown actually starting here for DeMusliM, so he's going to put his opponent on a timer, swoops in with the horse archers, picks off 1 villager. The Night Mass is also beginning to grow though, and you gotta be careful here for DeMusliM taking those fights.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So once that Night Mass begins to grow, that's when it starts getting scary. These horsemen, they don't do very well in hand-to-hand combat. Unfortunately, their bows just don't seem to do quite effectively against those swords, against those lances of the knights on the other side. But we'll look to see how the composition begins. But all 3 sacred sites have been taken. You do see that sacred site timer in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Up towards the north of the map, we do see that the sacred site is looking to be contested. We've got units moving up here from DeMusliM to look to neutralize it, but at the same time, there's a reasonable force that's coming out. And now a nice little trade here for DeMusliM. LucifroN going to be struggling. This is not a trade that he wants to take. These are not the trades you are looking for. But we continue to see beautiful micro coming out from DeMusliM here.
Beautiful micro as well. He's also using those warrior monks to perfection. You see the sacred side got neutralized, but the warrior monks with the Saint's blessing, they gave some extra attack for those horse archers, and that was immensely helpful when it comes to piercing the armor of those knights. And now it is just a cleanup operation. LucifroN can't do anything other than just clean up those horsemen, or at least as many horse archers as he can with the archers. He knows he can't escape this battle.
Yeah, that's a great point. And now, if we take a look, so we've completely cleaned this mess up over here. Behind this, DeMusliM is focusing on his economy. The second town center is now up. It is well and truly aware by LucifroN. LucifroN has established the fact that there's a second town center. That scout was underneath it, attacking some villages, causing that attack alarm to go off. So now LucifroN knows, okay, your enemy, all of a sudden, he's keeping up. He's got all the relics, so now the ball is in your court, LucifroN. How do you react to it from your perspective? Because you've got a bit of a military deficit at the moment, 7 to 29. Villages, you're ahead, but keep in mind, your enemy's got the relics, so they've got the late game, and they're going to get to 130 villages like you will as well. They're just going to do it a little bit later.
Especially if LucifroN doesn't have a lot of food to work with. We're going to get back to that topic in a second. Horse archers will also pick up a couple of villagers here. So, you see, DeMusliM is able to cut into that villager deficit, but the growing concern for right now is that LucifroN, as you pointed out, he doesn't have the army to contest map control right now, so he's running disturbingly low on food. You could see for a brief moment that he almost depleted his last berries. And not a single farm has been dropped just yet, whereas for DeMusliM, he's still taking that board, he still has a second patch of huntables he hasn't even touched, and we haven't even mentioned the berries, so his farm transition can be delayed quite a lot compared to his opponents.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that the way that DeMuslim's come out with this build order has been very, very interesting because he recognized that LucifroN's going to be going 2 TC fast castle. It's just that it's going to take him a fair bit longer for him to reach that age. So as a result, DeMuslim looks to punish it. He really gets ahead on that horse archer count, and he's continuing to add into it now. We see a whole bunch of upgrades coming through behind this as well, looking to get springald emplacements, looking to get those arrow slits in as well, and also going to be getting military academy. And up towards the north, a keep going to be coming up for LucifroN. A great little staging ground here, going to be able to challenge that sacred site from this keep, also going to be able to defend that large gold.
He needs to challenge that sacred site because, you see, the countdown is down to 840. That's not really a big deal right now. You're most likely going to be able to neutralize one sacred site. The concern is that those sacred sites are also giving extra gold for the Muslims, so he's getting a ton of passive gold right now. Bit of an engagement here in the middle. You gotta be careful with those horse archers fighting against mass food archers, but a critical mass has been achieved here potentially by the Muslim, and he's just able to pick off so many of those fleeing units.
Yeah, he's having a great time in here. He's got to be aware of that springald emplacement just firing off. Every single time it fires off, it's almost one-shotting a unit. You can see the damage that it does is pretty insane. But now DeMuslim just looking to trade in with his opponent. He's pretty happy. Even if he takes a poor trade here, he's happy because he knows that he's working towards that village account. That's what's really important. And when it gets to the late game, DeMuslim is on the Rus. And the Rus are a notoriously strong late game civ. Oh, LucifroN's keep gets denied. Did the warrior monk single-handedly deny it?
Seems like it. I don't think a lot of villagers was building it, but there is not a single horse archer in the vicinity, and the Muslim is basically keeping one big group of horse archers. LucifroN just taps out. I think he's just now seeing those horse archers head towards his gold mine. The castle was denied. It's really game over. Look at the villager count. Well, you can't really see it on the overlay, but villager count was even. 5 relics, 3 sacred sites. What do you even do with the French here?
Yeah, that seems pretty crazy. I guess it was just a build order. I'm not even sure how to say it, whether it was a build order win, a build order loss, that sort of thing. But it didn't, coming back and looking at that, there had just been so many villages that had been lost. And obviously the doubt keep that went up as well, or didn't go up, which is part of the issue. I mean, there were a lot of consequences there, but DeMuslim just ahead of the pack massively and takes LucifroN to school.
Yeah, clinic here by DeMuslim. He has shown why Rus is currently one of the strongest civilizations out there. He was able to access 2 of those boars, and this is where we go back to that talking point about those boars being in the middle. It basically meant that the Muslim could just focus his attention to one place at a time. He didn't have to protect his boars on the flanks all the way at the edge of the map and then simultaneously fight in the middle. He could just focus all his attention towards the middle and protect his boars and simultaneously fight his opponent at the same time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I guess another important thing to note is playing with that horse archer composition that he's got. I say composition very loosely because he made exclusively horse archers.